and we'll be starting in about 3 or 4 minutes. I see a couple of questions: how to start or make a blog. Nancy, that's exactly why we're here. So we'll be talking about that. And Cindy says, people always tell me I need to blog. What is it? Yes, I'm new to this all. We'll be talking about that too. And I'm going to stop sharing my own picture right now and go to our start screen. Jess, can you confirm with me that I'm sharing my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. Good deal. Looks like we're up to 11 participants so far, which is great. Thanks for being here early, everybody. We'll be starting in just a minute or two. Just be aware there is a question in the Q&A section right now too. Daphne, I see you're here. I hope Russ is with you. Okay, it's 1:02 by my clock, and we have 17 participants. So let's go ahead and get this started. My name is Bob. I'm a librarian at Haggard Library. Actually, I just changed positions a little bit. I'm still in Haggard Library, but I work in the outreach and engagement department now. But I'm still doing things like this. This is Introduction to Blogging. So today we'll be talking about what blogging is and how to start one really easily. All right, Introduction to Blogging. First of all, I want to That's my full name, Bob Lofton. My email address is bob.l@plano.gov. You're welcome to email me with questions later about what we learned or additional questions or anything like that. I'm happy to answer them for you. All right. Okay, blogging basics. A couple of the questions in the chat before we started were basically, what is a blog and would I be interested? So blog is a contraction for the term web log. And I guess people started saying it quickly and weblog, blog. So that's where the term comes from. Kind of silly. Kind of in a nutshell, what it is, it's almost like keeping, it can be almost like keeping a diary, or maybe you go on a trip and you want to post daily updates about your trip, kind of like you're doing a journal about it. But the way you start a blog these days, typically there are some services on the web that you can go to start one, and you don't have to run your own server or anything like that. So it's all kind of cloud-based. Today, we're going to be using a system called Blogger, and that is owned by Google, like half the rest of the world seems to be now, but it's a free system. All you need to get started is a Google account, and you can start a blog on Blogger. There are a lot of other options for systems. Kind of the more popular ones, the most popular ones today, I would say, are WordPress, which is another system, and Blogger. There's another one called TypePad, which is similar, but there are some others. You can use blogs for business, and a lot of these blogging systems like WordPress, you can actually kind of force WordPress almost to be your website for your business, and a lot of people do that. It's a little bit more, not really complicated, but it's a different approach to setting up the blog, but it can be done. And I do want to point out there are some blurry lines about which services you might consider blogging software. So that slide is supposed to say Wix, not Six. That's a typo. I'm sorry. I thought I got them all. Wix, W-I-X. There's another one called Squarespace, and there are a lot of services on the internet where you can set up a website, and technically you could embed a blog into the site, but those and a lot of people call those blogging sites, but really they're really more full-functioned website builders that you would use, like if you were trying to set up an online store or something like that. Do we have any questions so far, Jess?
We do. We have a question from Kathy. How do people find my blog?
Okay, so that's a great question. Finding any website these days, including a blog, it's not like the old days when everything was a website. Like if you had a website that specialized in whatever your hobby is, or maybe you did book reviews or something, you might have a site called mybookreviews.com, and people would do a search on Google or Yahoo, and they would say, I'd like to read book reviews, and they would find your site. Most people today seem to think of the internet basically as one of the social media sites. And so to get people to your site, these days, you really have to promote it in some way. And that's even if you're just wanting friends to read your blog. So for instance, if you have a Facebook page or an Instagram account or something, you might actually put the address, the URL of your blog in your description of your tagline or something on one of those social media sites. The other way people do it is when they make a new post on their blog. Maybe they post on Facebook, hey, I have a new blog post, and then their friends will read it. You can also do that within things like Facebook groups or other social media groups that are of common interest. Like if you're into a particular game or something and you're part of that group, you might say, hey, I've got a blog, and here's a link to my latest post about this game. But it's a little bit labor intensive now. We'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes, but other questions right now?
No other questions right now.
Okay. So a few other blogging basics. Today, as I said, we're going to use Blogger, a free service owned by Google. You do need to have a Google account to use it. But of course, a Google account is free. And then to start, you just go to blogger.com. Nice thing about this is if you actually wanted to run multiple blogs, like if you had different subjects you wanted to write about and you didn't want them to be on the same site, basically, Blogger will let you set up multiple blogs using the same account, the same email account. And I'll show you how that works as well. You can connect your blog to your own domain name if you have one. Like we'll talk about something. Well, I'm going to set up a blog from scratch so you can see how it works. But if I had a domain name that said something like it was bobskateboarding.com, I could set it up so that you just type in bobskateboarding.com and it takes you to my Blogger blog or my WordPress blog or whatever. I'm going to say the word blog like a million times today. That is a little complicated from the technical side. It's not super hard, but there's just a couple of things you need to know how to do that you need to be done. And if someone's really interested in that, if we have time, I'll talk about it in a little bit more detail. But Blogger is very, very simple, which is great. So we're going to start just by looking at Blogger. Now, I'm going to click over to my Blogger page. Okay. There's a lot of words here. I am already signed in to Blogger. I signed into my Google account. This is a brand new, fresh Google account I made for this class. And you can see up at the upper right-hand corner, it has a B that stands for Bob. And you've got all your kind of standard Google stuff at the very top. And then over on the upper right-hand side, you will see I'm circling it with my mouse. You should be able to see that. Can you see that, Jess?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. Just want to make sure I'm still sharing. You see that B that stands for Blogger. And so right now we're looking at the administrative side, kind of the desktop, the dashboard, if you will, of this system. This sidebar over here that I'm circling around in is where your menu choices are going to show up once you have created a blog. I haven't created a blog yet, so there's really not much there. And this middle section that I'm in right now is where your editing area is going to be for your blog. So if you've used Microsoft Word or Google Docs or anything like that, it's going to look really similar to that. It's going to have kind of do a lot of the same things that you would do if you're just typing up a letter to a friend or something like that. But this is a fresh one. So there's no blog here. There is a link here that says create blog. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to click create blog. Choose a name for your blog. So I'm going to just call this Bob's Skateboarding Blog. If the title that you pick is already in use by someone else, it's going to tell you that. And you can see there here that I've used 24 of a possible 100 characters. So you could have a really long blog title if you wanted. Click next. Okay. This is where you're going to pick the URL, the web address for your blog. And it's going to be whatever you pick, .blogspot.com. Blogspot is just Google's name for its Blogger stuff. Okay. And this has to be unique as well. If I pick something that's already been done, it's not going to work. So let me just type skateboarding. Sorry, this blog address is not available. Anything that's really obvious like that is probably already going to be chosen. So yeah, that one's not going to work. I'm going to use my initials and then SK8 for skate. I can't use that one either. Maybe if I type the word test underneath that. Blog address not supported. Wow, it doesn't like that. I'm going to try Bob skateboarding. Wow, I'm having trouble here. I'm going to try Bloft and test. Finally, this blog address is available. So this isn't really unusual to have a little challenge finding a domain name that will actually work that isn't already taken, because this system probably has millions of blogs, most of which are long abandoned, but they're still there. This isn't something I would really pick for a blog in the long run, but I'm going to use it today just, to get along with the class. Questions at this point, Jess?
None yet.
Okay. I do want to add, like, if you actually had your own domain name, like, daphnesskateboarding.com, that you wouldn't put it in here. You need to pick a blogger URL first, and then later you would connect everything. Okay, I'm going to click save. All right. It's processing this. Okay. I need to move my Zoom window a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. All right, so this is more like it. You see some stuff about the European Union and cookie collection, a lot of legal stuff that shows up here. Theoretically, I'm going to read those and click the X and make them disappear. Get rid of all that. So now we have a fresh blog, and you can see here in the editing area, there are no posts. Let's take a look here at what we've got available, though. Over here in the menu area at the very top, you've still got that blogger B. Then it tells you which blog you're on, Bob's skateboarding blog. If I had multiple blogs, I could click this arrow and it would show them. If I wanted to start a new blog, I could click a new blog and go through this whole thing again. So you can always access all of your blogs right here. Down here, you could click this and it would show you the posts that you have made, and we'll do that momentarily. You can look at stats for your blog to see how many views it's getting. Comments, if you allow comments on your blog, on your post, you could look at them here. If you have a lot of traffic and you have somehow monetized this with Google advertising, you can look at earnings. You can look at pages. We'll talk about the difference between pages and posts in a little while. Something we're going to use very early on here is layout. Layout is going to show kind of how everything lays out on your page, themes, all that. All right.
So I did have a couple of questions rolling.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have Kathy asking, she's in Blogger, she's following our steps, and she says it's asking her to choose a name for the blog. Is this before the domain name?
That's correct. So here's the difference between the two. And we'll see this momentarily after I've created a post and we actually look at the public view of this blog. When you choose your blog name, that's what it's going to say at the top of the blog page when people open it. So like when you look at a blog, it's going to have a big title that says Bob's skateboarding blog for this one. You can do what you want there. The URL that you pick, that's going to be whatever it is, .blogspot.com, that's what they're going to type in to get to your blog. So those are not the same thing. One of them is the name that displays on screen, and one of them is the URL that you go to, which is handy because, like in this case, I was having trouble finding an unused domain name. So I can still have the thing show in big print on the page, Bob's skateboarding blog, but then it can just be like whatever I made it, Bob's skateboarding test or whatever I made it. So .blogspot.com. I hope that answers it. If it doesn't, just I think it'll make sense as we go through this. Was there another question, Jess?
Yes, I still have a couple more. So Cindy is asking, does the blog name have to show the subject of the blog? What if it is a family reunion type blog?
No, it doesn't. If it's a family reunion, It doesn't have to say reunion in it. It could be anything you want it to be. There's not like, this system doesn't have some sort of intelligence built into it where it's like, oh, a family reunion blog has to have family reunion in the title. There's nothing like that. Okay, I think that probably answers that.
Yeah. And then I have Daphne asking, what is the purpose of a blog?
So that's a really good question, Daphne. There are a lot of purposes. So some of them are hobbies. So, and I'll give you an example. I've been running a blog for like 15 years. And it's just kind of like my journal, and it might have anything that I'm doing, thinking. Sometimes, I think something and I write it and then I publish it and go, I shouldn't have published that. I was thinking bad thoughts, and I delete it and make it go away. But so it can just be kind of a personal journal. It can be subject specific. So I always go to skateboarding because that's like what I do. And I always have something to say or show. So I like to post like videos for my friends to see what I'm working on and stuff like that. And it's chronological. So the most recent post you make is going to be at the top of the blog page. And as you scroll down, you're going to see the day before and the day before and the day before and so forth. Now, some people do use blogs for their business. And there are businesses that maybe they have a full featured website where they can sell their goods and services and stuff. But they actually have a section of their website that's a blog that people like, if you're a fan of that product or something, and that's where they publish their news about it, and stuff like that. But it can be really, the purpose is anything you want it to be, actually. Your dad, Daphne, writes some unbelievably good stories. I've read them. I love them. If he wanted to publish his stories on a blog, it would be a good way to do that. It costs nothing, and you put them out there. Now the issue is you put them out there, and his stuff, which is out in the public domain, and somebody may just steal them. You don't know. You can put copyright, on there, but who knows what they're going to do with it. So I'm not suggesting that you do that. That's just an example of something you could do. Any other questions right now?
One last one. Do you find a podcast within a blog, or is it separate?
So they are separate. We do a class on podcasting. We've got a couple of versions of it up on our YouTube channel that explains how to set up a podcast. That being said, you could set things up so that, like, maybe you have a podcast that's associated with your blog, but not this. And then you can actually embed like a player on an audio player in your blog post. So people could listen to your podcast from your blog. And that is a really good question. I'm going to show you how to do that with video today. But the same thing would work for audio. Okay, let's move on. So I think what the first thing I want to do is create a post. So, because the main thing about doing a blog is you want to be posting things. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to click the link up here that says new post up in the upper left-hand side. And this opens up a pretty standard looking word processing area. And I am going to type, I'm just going to call this practice session. Okay. So we've got the title of this post, and the title is going to show up when we look at it. And you've got all these word processing tools here, like you would in Word. You've got bold, italics, underline. You can change the font. you can change the justification. You can do all of that stuff. I've already prepared some text that I'm just going to paste in so that you don't have to watch me type. And here we go. So it's pretty small text, and I pasted it from just a plain text editor. I'm going to highlight the text because I think it's way too small. I can barely read it. And up here, we've got a font size control. I'm going to click font size now that I've got it highlighted, and I'm going to click large, make it a little bit bigger. And I'm going to also click over here, this A icon, font type, and I'm going to change it to Arial. Okay. So this is like a typical thing that someone like me would do. I'd go and I have a nice practice session, and I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to share this with my friends. So I type this up. It's pretty plain here. I'm going to show you some of the other features of the editor while we're in here. So last night the weather was nice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The bottom, I said, I got a nice new board from Mode Skateboards. It's great and it's working well. A nice thing to do that when you're using anything on the internet is when you can link to something that you enjoy, then go ahead and link to it. So I'm going to highlight Mode Skateboards. And up here, you'll just have to learn these icons, but the chain link one there says insert or edit link. So I'm going to click that. I've already highlighted the text. So it says text to display Mode Skateboards. Now I'm going to type in the web address. You can choose whether this is going to open when they click it in a new window or not. I'm going to make it open a new window. And then I'm going to click apply. And now we've got a nice link here. Now, you can also embed pictures and video and stuff in here. So on this particular post, just to start out kind of simple, I am going to put in an image. So again, up here in your menu bar, next to the link icon, there's a link that says insert image. I'm going to click that. Now this gives you a number of options. You can upload an image from your computer. If you have an image in your Google Photos, since you're logged into your Google account, this will give you access to those, and you could pick one from the photos in your Google account. If you already have a photo saved in Blogger, you could look at that. Or if you have the web address, the actual address on the internet of a specific image, you could paste that in. In this case, I'm just going to click upload from computer. I'm going to choose my file. I am going to go to Blogger class, and it's a screenshot that I took yesterday. And it's uploading. Okay. Now you've got to select the image. So I'm going to single click on it and click select. Okay. Now it's pasted the image in. That's a little ugly. I don't really like the way it looks sitting there. Now, what I could do is just put a space there. This is where you're going to start getting into a lot of things about page layout and it's just personal decisions. Still don't really like it. If I single click on the image, you get a little menu down here at the bottom that's going to give you some choices. So this, you can see the middle. You might be able to see this. I hope you can see this. You can have it justified on the right, the middle, or the left. Let's see what happens if I click this one on the, the align right. Okay, it does that. I still don't like that. Why don't I do this? I can click the image and I'm going to cut and paste. So I'm going to cut it. And then I'm going to click right in front of the L at the very top of my text in last, and I'm going to click paste. Now it still looks horrible, but what we can do now is we can do the justification, right? And you can play with the way this looks on the screen. I think I liked it better like this. Okay. Single click on this also. Some of the other options here, you can change the size. You can actually drag these little tags around to change the size of the image too. This underlined A, you can put a caption underneath it. So if I click that and I can type spacewalk, which is what I was doing right there. All right. So this is an extremely simple post. It is text that includes a link to another website and an embedded image. And you can put as many images in here as you want. Do we have any questions right now, Jess?
No questions right now.
Okay, maybe we're hitting some good points. All right, so need to move my stuff around a little bit here. Good. Okay, so practice session. I feel good about this. Where I'm going now, up the upper right-hand part of the screen, there's a link that says preview. There's another one that says publish. Preview has a little arrow next to it. If I click the arrow, I can preview the post or I can save it. If I save it, it's going to save it as a draft that I could come back and work on later. If I click preview, let's do that. It's going to open up another window. It says preview, and you can see what it's going to look like when it posts on my blog. Okay. And I can just, since it opened that up in a new window, or excuse me, a new tab, if I can get my my Zoom menu out of the way, I can close that. Okay, there we go. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and click publish. You can see published on, it gives the date and time and all, and some other stuff over here that we're probably not gonna have time to go into today. I'm gonna click publish. Publish posts. This will publish the post to your blog. Confirm. Okay, awesome. Okay, now we're back to kind of where we started with the dashboard. And since I have one post here, I've got posts selected, and it shows that one post showing up. If I had multiple ones, it's going to pop up here. We're going to do another quick one momentarily so you can see what two of them look like. There's also a link down here at the very bottom that says view blog. I'm going to click view blog. Okay, so this is what my blog looks like now. I'm not saying I like the way it looks, but that was sort of the default theme that Blogger uses for this. The nice thing about a blog like this is if you don't like the theme, you don't like the colors and everything that and the way it displays, you can change all of that without changing any of your content. So that's a huge advantage to using something like a blog. Jess, it looks like we've got something in Q&A, do we not?
We do. We have someone asking how you got the background for your blog.
So that background is part of the theme. So we're going to look at themes like right now, because I think that's an important thing to do. So I'm going to close this window, and it opened everything. It opened it in a separate tab. I closed that tab. Okay, so yeah, I hate that theme. It's just horrible. I tend to like really plain themes. So what we can do down here, or over on the left, if you come down here, there's two things that are going to be associated with the way your blog looks to the viewer. The first is layout, and the other one is theme. So we're going to click theme. So that theme that we're using is called Contempo Light. And there's a bunch of themes you can pick. So I'm going to scroll here, and there's a bunch of them under the Contempo banner. There's some called Soho. You can click on these and get kind of previews of them. I'm not crazy about any of these. The one I usually pick because is from this simple area. But so this will kind of explain how themes work. Excuse me. So I'm going to click simple. It gives you a bigger picture of what that theme looks like. And Okay, it's got a white background. It's simple. So I'm going to click apply. Some gadgets may become visible. We'll talk about gadgets in a minute. I'm going to click got it. Okay. So I've applied that theme to my blog. Now all I've got to do over here on the right, I'm going to click view blog again. And you can see how much it's changed. So it's a much simpler page now. Practice session. And then it shows up again here for a reason we'll talk about momentarily. But you've got different areas of your blog here. You've got the title. You've got that first post. Down below where it repeats that post, we're going to get rid of that in a moment. There's an option for putting like highlighted posts and stuff like that below the chronological stuff. And I don't like to repeat stuff on the same page. So we're going to get rid of that. The right hand has a sidebar. So you could, if this is a big blog and you're trying to remember where a particular entry you read last year was, you could search the blog for it. There's, I have a profile with Blogger, and that can be changed, and you can read about it. We're going to look at the sidebar in detail momentarily too. But that's how that changed. All right, I'm going to close that. We're back at themes now. Questions? Any questions now?
I do have a question from Kathy about if you were going to go over how people can respond to your blog and how you can answer them.
Yes, absolutely. We will do that. Let's Jess, if I don't get to that, I'm going to talk about changing the layout a little bit. And then after that, if I don't go right back to comments, stop me. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay, good. So just jump in and stop me. So the theme is kind of the overall look and feel of your blog. It defines the size of the fonts you're using, the colors, the background color. It defines whether or not there is a background image and stuff like that. The layout is where all of this stuff actually shows up within the page. So that'll be more self-explanatory when I click layout. Okay. And so each one of these blocks, each one of these blocks of data like nav bar, header, etc., is something that can be moved around, shuffled around on the page. On this particular page, we've got a nav bar up at the very top. And if I click edit, it just shows kind of some information about the nav bar. Okay. The header is actually where my blog's title shows up. It's the page header. And if I click edit on that, I could change the blog title. I could give it a description. So I'm going to just type in a description, say a blog about skateboarding. Maybe you have an image that you want to show up there instead of text. You could actually do right here under image. You could choose your file and upload the image, and it will do that for you. I'm going to click save. Okay. There's an area here where you can put a gadget. We're going to talk about gadgets in just a moment. I don't have any on this blog. There's another cross column here that is empty. And then there's a block here that shows main, and that's the blog posts. Okay. So we're going to kind of go back and forth between the live blog and this. So this area here that says posts, blog posts, on the blog itself, that is this area right here. If there were multiple posts, there was a practice session and then another story that says video, then that's all within that section. This thing down here where it repeats practice session, that is this other block down here that says featured post, which I don't like. So I'm going to click edit, and it brings up a spot where I can click remove. And I'm going to remove that. And now it's gone. If I reload my blog, that mess down there is gone too, which I like. And then popular posts. If I had actual traffic on this blog, it would put the most popular post in this section. I also don't want that in this case. I'm going to remove it. And now I'm back to like, you just have that whole middle area of your blog is just going to be your post. Now, all of this stuff here in the sidebar is here in the sidebar right block. And all of these sections like search this blog, follow by email, et cetera, all of these little chunks of information that show up in the sidebar are called gadgets. In some blogging systems like WordPress, they're called widgets. Google calls them gadgets. This is where you add things like that. So you can see I've got the search this blog at the top, search this blog at the very top, and then a bunch of other stuff, pages, AdSense, stuff like that. I'm going to get rid of some of these just the same way I got rid of some of those other chunks. I don't want these Google AdSense things showing up here. There's an About Me gadget. There are other sidebar gadgets or sidebar areas you've got like, oh, you could have report abuse, stuff like that, log archive, et cetera. And then there's a footer area, but let's see what's in the footer area is just all this stuff down here. So you can change what's there. You can also change the order, just like if I wanted to search this blog down at the bottom, I could grab this widget, just move it to the bottom. And I don't think I've even got to save it. Let me just reload that and see if it moved. Maybe I do have to save it. Maybe I'm missing the save button here. Okay. Well, y'all caught me on something I can't find. I can't find the save button, but rest assured you can move those things around, actually. Let's move on a little bit, but not before I ask for more questions. Any questions, Jess?
So no questions right now.
Okay, very good. Okay, so let's talk about communicating with your readers. That's generally done through comments. So let us look at, we're going to go back to our posts by clicking on post. And then here's this practice session post that I just made. If I wanted to look at the comment settings on this, what I can do is just click in here to open that. So I could edit this right now. If I wanted to change it, if I noticed a typo or whatever, I could fix it and click the update button at the top. Over here on the right-hand side, you're going to see some other links, and one of them is options. And if I click options, you're going to see reader comments. Allow them, do not allow but show existing comments, or do not allow and hide existing comments. So maybe you had comments before, but you're sick of them and you want them to all go away. You could click do not allow and hide the existing ones. In this case, it says allow. Okay, so I don't really need to update this because I'm not going to make any changes. So I'm going to click this arrow up here to go back. Okay, now let's look at the blog again. So you've got the post here. And at the very bottom, it says no comments. If I click on that no comments, it actually opens up a comments field that you could type into. Now, here's something I want to really make very clear. I just clicked the title up here to go back to the very home page. Each one of these posts, besides showing up on the home page itself, has its own page. So like if you wrote a post here and you wanted to share just that and not everything else that's ever happened on your blog, instead of linking to the home page, which just says Beloft and test, what you could do is anything that's clickable, like practice session, the title here, that is a clickable link. Now you're on a page that says beloftandtest.blogspot.com, and then the year and the month, and then the practice-session.html. So this is this is the domain name, or not the domain name. This is the URL that you would share if you just wanted people to go to this page. And when you go just to the page, then the comments area is already here. So I'm going to type in the comments something silly like, "Hi, Bob, you are me!" exclamation point. And you can comment with your Google account, or, there's various ways you can do that. I'm leaving it as Google account, and I click publish. It says publishing. Okay. I just noticed I misspelled practice session. Session has 2 S's. So now it's right there. If I go back to my dashboard, now if I click the comments area in the dashboard, it's going to show me that I had a comment. Okay. Now, here's a very important thing about comments, and bear with me, I'm going to have to hunt for it probably a little bit, but you can change a lot of things in these blogging, since you could probably make it so that comments have to be moderated. So I think I'm going to find comment moderation probably under settings. And let's go down here. Let's see if we find something about comments. Yes. Okay. There's a comment section. Who can comment? Users with Google accounts. Comment location, embedded. Comment moderation, never. If I click on comment moderation, I can change it to comment moderation always. Okay. So that is, we're not going to go through every one of these areas. That you can explore that on your own, but that is how you could moderate your comments. So that's a way you can communicate with people. Questions, Jess?
Not yet.
Okay. I am going to blow through doing another post so you can see what it looks like when there's 2 posts, and also how to embed audio or video. And then I would like to take some other questions, but the hour is passing super fast. Okay, so I'm going to click new post, and I'm going to title this video. That's the name of the post. And I have some more text prepared that I'm going to paste in. You would be probably typing this. I'm going to highlight it again and go to the text size and click large. And I'm going to highlight it again and click the font type and click Arial. Okay. And this, I'm just telling people, hey, I created a video clip. Would you like to see it? Okay. Embedding video is super easy. There's basically 3 ways to do it. Up here in your menu bar, there's an insert image, but there's another thing that looks like a clapboard that says insert video. There's a couple of ways to do this now. I could click that and I could upload the video from my computer. And I have the video on my computer. I'm going to choose not to do that. You can embed something from YouTube. If I click YouTube, and I have a video here, I'm going to copy the URL of that video. It says uploads, nothing found. I can click search, and I could actually type in or paste in the URL of that video and run a search, and it finds it. I select it and click select. And now it's embedded in here. Here's why I don't like to do it that way. You can see that it's really cut off. If I click on it, I can change the width of everything, but it doesn't really fit very well. And if it gets too tall, then it starts repeating, and it's a mess. So I'm going to show you how to do it the way I like to do it. I delete that. All right. And this is also very important. And this happens in almost every blogging system. So you have this nice text editor that we're in, and everything looks pretty much the way it's going to display on screen. At the very left-hand side of your menu bar, it looks like a pencil and with an arrow. And if I click that, it says Compose View. So this is the composer. If I click the HTML view, it's going to switch it so that I see all the code behind the scenes that makes this look the way it does, that defines the font and the size and all of that. Okay, so that looks like a bunch of junk to most people. And here's an important point. It is super easy to accidentally switch to HTML view. And if you don't know what you're looking at, you're like, oh my God, I just blew up everything. All you got to do is click the Compose view again, and it goes right back to where you were. Here's why I like the HTML view for embedding video. If I go back to that video of mine on YouTube, and this is the case with audio too, like if you had an audio player like on your podcast or something, if I click the share button, it gives you a bunch of stuff: Facebook, Twitter, email, blah, 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 blah. It gives you a link to go direct to the video, or you can click this link that says, or this icon that says embed, and it gives you the actual HTML code to create a properly sized player in your blog. Okay, so I've highlighted it. I'm going to copy it. Okay, so I've got that embed code, which I found from the share on the YouTube video. I'm going to go back to this page. I'm going to go back over. If I I'll show you what happens. If I just paste that into the Compose view, then all I get is a bunch of code that doesn't do anything. So what I have to do is click over to the HTML view. I go to the very end, put my cursor there. I go down a couple and I paste it in there. Okay, now I click here and go back to the Compose view, and you can see that you can't see the video yet, but you can see like the size and the way it's going to display. And now I'm going to click Publish, confirm, and publish. So now in the posts area, I have two posts. The first one, and then chronologically, the newest one shows up at the top. And if I click blog, the view blog now, you can see that it embedded that in the post. And it would be, if it were just an audio player from your podcast, then you would just have like an audio player blog, but you can actually play it right here. Okay, so that is how you embed video and stuff like that. Questions, Jess?
No questions right now.
So I think hopefully this isn't all overwhelming. There's a lot you can do with a blog. It's really, it can be very, very fun to do. The nice thing about a blog is, like if you share a video on social media, yeah, it's great. You might get some people clicking like or thumbs up or whatever, but it has a very short shelf life. Like if you post something on Instagram, the people who are following you, they see it, and then 5 minutes later, there are 60 other posts from people they're following on top of yours, and they're not going to see it. But when you post something on your own blog, it stays there, and you can always refer to people to it, and it's easy to find. I told you I was going to talk about gadgets. Let's talk about that real quick. So when we went to layout and we looked over here in the sidebar, we saw all these gadgets. We're going to add a new gadget. And what we're going to do, when I click posts are chronological stories that you've presented. There's another thing called pages. Pages are not chronological. If you wanted to put some information up about your blog that is going to always be in the same place, what I would do is click pages. and then I click New Page, and I'm going to type about this blog, and I have some text I'm going to type in or paste in rather to make this fast. All right, we're going to do the same thing we've done with all of them, which is make it bigger, change it to Arial. We already know how to embed images and video and stuff in here, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm just going to publish the page. Okay. Now, when I go back to view blog, okay, where is it? I published it. I can't find it. Well, it doesn't show up here in the chronological view of posts because it's not a post. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to layout. And maybe I want a link to that page, that about page, to show up over in the sidebar. So what I'm going to do is click add a gadget. And there are a lot of gadgets that you can put in, and you just have to explore and figure out which ones are interesting to you. But there's one down here that says pages. I'm going to click the plus sign. The title it's above that in the sidebar, I'm just going to leave it as pages. And then it gives you a list of all the pages on your site. In this case, there's really just the home page and about. To pick what's going to show up there. I'm going to pick about this blog, and I'm going to unselect the home page, and this shows a list. Now, if I had like 5 things checked here, they're going to all show up as blocks here that I can move around into the order that I want. I'm going to click save. Okay. Now let's look at the blog again. Okay. And now I have a pages area here that says about this blog. I click that, and there is that page that I made. Now, so pages are for things that aren't sort of like your daily journal kind of thing. They're things that you might always want people to have access to. If you were running something where you wanted a list of resources for your readers that they could always find easily and not have to scroll through 500 blog posts, and create a page for it and put it in the sidebar. Questions, Jess?
Yeah, so we do have a question. Can my blog just be for my family to see?
It can. I've never done that. Let's experiment a little bit, but let me tell you where I'm going before I start poking around here. Most systems, I know in WordPress, I'm pretty sure you can set it so that someone has to log in to see the blog. So what I'm getting at is you would have kind of a blog homepage that if you give them your URL, they go to that and it says there's really not much there except please log in. And then they log in and they can see the blog. I can't remember if you can do that with Blogger. Let's see. Privacy, visible to search engines. So that's not relevant. Publishing, that's not really relevant to this question. That custom domain name thing is here. We're not going to have time to get into that today, but that's where you would have your own domain name. Permissions. Okay. Reader access, public. If I click this, I could do custom readers or private to authors. So if I did custom readers, then that's going to let me define exactly who can see it. And I'm not going to go through it right now, but what I can tell you what it's going to do is it's going to probably ask you for a list of Google accounts. And like if you would need the Google addresses of your family members and you put them in there, and if they are signed into their Google account, they're going to be able to see the blog. If they're not signed in, they're not going to be able to see it. So most systems are like that are worth anything are going to have something like that. Any other questions right now?
No other questions, but we do have Kathy who is saying she can't wait to play around with Blogger and get her own blog started.
It's awesome. It's so fun, Kathy. Like I will share this with y'all. I started doing this. I've been running websites a long time, like since grad school in 1994. But In 2000, oh gosh, probably 2005, when I started working for Plano, I went to a conference called the Internet Librarian, and blogging as a thing was kind of new then. And so I I got into it there and I started a blog, and I've changed the name of the blog since then, and it's been on a couple of different platforms, but uh, it's really, this is just a personal blog, right? But it's really fun. You can write whatever you want. You can express yourself. I like to go back to every year when it's the anniversary of my first Aikido class. And Aikido is a martial art that I practice, and I started it when I was 42. I'm 57 now, so it's been a while. Or I'm 56 now, almost 57. Um, and I wrote a blog post about my first day at practice and how like fun but confusing it was. And it's really cool to go back years later and reread that stuff and have it so easily accessible and be able to say, wow, back then, um, like how far have I come and how far do I have to go and what a great journey it's been and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's a really, I think it's an extremely fun hobby. I'm going to try to unshare my screen here so we can have a proper so long.
I do have one last question that jumped in from Janet asking, how do you make an earning with the blog?
Okay. So that is a really good question. This is a question that comes up a lot also with podcasting. How do you make money? So the first thing you have to do to make money with anything like this is you have to have, unless you're selling something, like that's a different thing, right? But if you're just blogging or just podcasting and not selling a product or service, you have to have an audience. And it is harder now than it used to be to get an audience for a couple of reasons. One, there's just so many more people doing this kind of stuff. And two, as I said earlier, a lot of people only think of the internet now as being social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, stuff like that. And they spend most of their time on the internet on those services. So you have to create good content that someone's going to be interested in reading or viewing. And then it's really on you now to promote it and get it out there and get people to follow it. And you can't just put up a blog post with something that's awesome and expect people to find it. They absolutely won't. They're not going to find it. You have to promote it. And then what you probably need to do is create some kind of permanent social media presence. People will follow you on social media. They absolutely will, if your stuff is good and they're interested in it. What they won't do is go check your blog every day. People just don't do that anymore. And one last example I will share. I used to have a skateboarding blog that got 30 to 40,000 page views every day. This was in the early 2000s when there was absolutely no competition. And that would be incredibly hard to do now. It's just not the same as it was. But once you've got the audience, then, you could, if you have an audience and you're on Blogger, you could apply to Google advertising and get sort of Google advertising embedded on your blog. And then you've just basically got banner ads and stuff like that. And if somebody clicks a banner ad, you get paid. That's really the way you would do it. I mean, I suppose you could actually sell advertising yourself. But this is kind of the model that a lot of things have now. Pay per click. Like if you and it is entirely a numbers game. Like if you have 0.5% of the people who come to your blog, if they click a link that pays you 25 cents every time it's clicked, well, if you get 30,000 people looking at your blog every day, at that page every day, 0.5% is significant. So it's all numbers. You want big numbers, lots of viewers. Other questions?
No other questions, just a lot of thank you for sharing.
Well, it's been my pleasure. I love talking about this stuff. I think it's really fun. Bear with me while I bump my my screens around and stuff. Having trouble with them. Where am I looking now? Let's see. Here we go. There we go. Now I can move so that I'm actually looking at y'all. Looks like we got 13 people left. I really want to thank everybody for hanging in there. I feel like I talk a mile a minute and there's a lot to communicate. I do encourage you to do this though, if something that's interesting to you. It is tremendous fun. Any other questions now? Looks like no. Okay.
Looks like no.
All right. Well, I would like to thank Cheryl, Cliff, Dawn, Ingrid, Zhizhen, Linda, Laura, Mariana, Noreen, Stephen. They are still here. So thank you for joining us today. If there's no other questions, I just want to let you know a few things. The video for this will be posted really soon. It'll be on our YouTube channel. Jess, could you post a link just to our YouTube channel in there so they have it? We have a YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel has a massive amount of video on it. You could probably see where I taught this last year and said completely different things. There are videos about podcasting on it where I teach podcasting. People teach all kinds of great things. The other thing I want to pass on is if you don't know about lynda.com, lynda.com, that is an online resource for learning this kind of technology that we make available through the Plano Public Library website to our Plano Public Library patrons. And there are classes on how to use WordPress, how to create podcasts, all sorts of stuff. It's totally free and the classes are absolutely great. Thank you all. And if that's it, I'm going to click end and I just wish everybody a great week. And looks like a great way to get started without WordPress. Yeah. I'm going to say so long, and then I'm going to say something else. So I edit these videos so I can do that. Thank you for being here. Okay. The other thing I wanted to say was about WordPress. You used to be able to set up a free WordPress account at wordpress.com. I looked at it this week and I don't think you can do it for free anymore. WordPress is really good. But Blogger is free and it's a great place to get started. And if you decided you wanted to try WordPress later, you can generally just there's a function in Blogger where you can export your stories and then you can just import them into WordPress. It'll just basically slurp them right in and you can do that. So it's pretty neat. All right, y'all. Just have a great week and yeah, reach out to me if you do a blog. I'd love to see it. Okay. Bye-bye.